Okay, we're finally at that stage where we're going to do a Xion tutorial. As you can see, I prepared a bunch of key notes for this fight, and just read over those carefully, and I'll kind of explain them as I do the fight. Um, Step one is items. The items that I have are only going to work with this particular gear and character setup. If you try and do this with different characters, your items will have to change to support that character. Um, with that being said, I use Bowser for his Magic Koopa. That's basically a Ultra Shroom Shake. And I use her for regen. So combined, that gives you a Hyper M Guard. Slow and steady. So as you can see, you want as much life Shroom Shakes as possible, because when you get to the third phase, you're going to be losing lives like crazy. I am only opting to go with 2 Caracolas. I started with 5, then 4, then 3, and then I realized I can get away with 2. It's a safety net item in this fight, because we're really going to be abusing Celebi and cycling it as much as possible. But you do have to be careful, because you do get punished by Xion if you have invincibility. And I'll explain what that means there in the fight. I have 1 Ultra Shroom Shake as another safety net item in case I have to buff up and I'm not on that phase of Celebi and I have to attack with Bowser, or maybe he's dead, or whatever it is. You want that option to do that. And Shala's Ring is very important. I have another method of defeating Xion. It's a little bit less consistent, but I actually don't use Shala's Ring or Celebi at all. And I actually sell them just to give me item space. And then you really want to max out on Hyper M Guards as much as possible. We don't have enough room to add any more, but this is plenty. The last 2 times I defeated him, I ended with 4 extra Hyper M Guards and 2 extra Hyper M Guards. But you don't want to ever have 0 Hyper M Guards. So, because sometimes you'll be using it just for 1 character. Because it's mandatory during a third phase that everybody stays buffed, and ideally has regen as well. For equipment, we have Mario with the Paladin, because we want him going first. He's going to have 244 defense. That means he can survive an entire barrage of attacks on his own. He's the only character that can do that in this setup. We have Peach with the Lazy Shell, because we want as much defense as possible, and ideally you want 240 or above. The difference between 239 and 240 is you can survive 1 additional attack while blocking. It's the same if you're not blocking. If she would have had the Paladin, she would be able to survive an additional 3 attacks. And because we're using the Soul Dew, it's going to lower her defense by 2. And that's the difference in 1 whole attack. So in Phase 3, that 1 attack is pretty critical, but we have ways around that by abusing invincibility at the proper time. It's not going to matter too much. And then, of course, we have him with the Platinum Plates solely because we need that magical 240 defense. Ideally, you want more attack, but it's not necessary in this fight. Mario's Galaxy Shell does extreme damage against Xion. And basically, we'll get into why the damage is so important. But again, with this setup, this is very in-game setup, but it's plenty to survive this. You're obviously going to want max FP, and you're going to want to make sure your characters are healed and ready to go before entering this fight. And I will be using fast forward through this fight, simply because it is such a long fight. I don't want it to drag out the video too much. So as you can see in the notes, Xion has 30 lives. Every 2 attacks should take off 1 life. In other words, Mario's regular attack should do over 15,000 damage. Bowser's attack should do over 15,000 damage combined. That's 1 life. They don't need damage buffs. They don't need damage buffs, like attack buffs, in order to take off a life. The only important thing is that if you are debuffed, that you immediately rebuff your character's defense, because he does do debuff attacks. The most important thing for this fight, actually, is going to be blocking. I know that sounds obvious, But if you're not blocking, you will die. Another key note, every time you attack him, he has the option to counter you. So he countered me there, that's why he had 4 attacks and not 3. He's not going to counter Mario right here. Okay? And the reason for that is he only counters if you're not taking off a life. If you're taking off a life, the way the code works for his character, he cannot counter you. So right now he'll counter Bowser, and typically towards the later phases, I don't want him countering Bowser. Since Bowser is my last character, I want to use that. I want to make sure everybody's good to go before he does his barrage of attacks. So I'm going to actually switch the roles to where Bowser's actually going to be taken off a life later on. That way he doesn't counter after attacking Bowser. After I attack Bowser. So that was a counter. The cross. This is a life. Notice how he countered. Therefore, I must have mistimed, and because he countered, that means I didn't do over 15,000 damage with Bowser, which is actually a good thing because it actually allows me a chance to switch roles. So now Bowser's gonna be taking off a life and he won't counter. And you know if you took off a life if there's a slight pause after you damage him. Oh, shit. That's okay. It's not going to change anything. So because of that pause, we know we successfully took a life off. Blocking is extremely important. I'm gonna actually buff right here. So Bowser has the lowest defense, so we want to make sure that he has regen at all times, and followed by Peach. Peach has the second lowest, and then because Mario's defense is so high, he can actually take a lot more attacks. Believe it or not. This is why we have the Soul Dew on. Buffing defense for Peach. Okay. Now we're going to use Celebi, and I have it Celebi cycled already to a specific one to give them regen. Mario's taking a life off. He's not taking a life off. I probably mistimed it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cycle Celebi just so that we can refill MP. But you really don't want to attack whenever Peach is invincible because he'll counter with Oathkeeper, which is a debuff. It's not guaranteed. If you take off the life, again, he still won't do it. But I'm going to actually remove it. Props to Doomsday for reminding me that you can actually take invincibility off with that. I don't want invincibility up right now. It's more of a nuisance. And the whole point of this strategy is to make it to the final phase without using items. Now, items are inevitable, but you can do the best you can. Again, we're going to give regen to Bowser, because he has the lowest, not because he had the lowest HP, because he has the lowest defense. Followed by Peach. And we made it to the second phase. This is all normal. And we're gonna buff everybody. I missed the block. And we're gonna buff again, make sure Mario keeps all of his buffs up, so we can start doing damage. Okay. So what's about to happen is as I placed into my keynotes, every 4 turns, he's gonna repeat that purple laser move, which insta-kills somebody. So it's just something to think about. We're gonna get regen on everybody. And we're gonna continue cycling Celebi. Basically, if I see her MP getting below 50, I'm gonna want to start cycling Celebi. Jesus. He really tried to RNG my people. I'm just gonna block. Nothing else to do. Nothing I can do about that. Again, I don't want to use any items. So we're just going to Psycho Celebi. It's the perfect time to do it. And buff. This should take off a life. Man, he's really RNGing me. This is all okay. Buff. Man, that RNG can go to hell. Countering. Jesus. We'll use an item anyways. He's about to switch to his next phase. Oh, there's that glitch. We got 35 FP. Let's just cycle Celebi. That's actually perfect. I was praying that he hit Mario. And we'll buff Mario back. That glitch is like impossible to block. Supposedly it's possible, but I've never been able to do it. And we're in the final phase. Now for this phase, we're going to want invincibility, especially on Mario. And the thing about using invincibility during this phase is we can't attack if we use invincibility, because then he'll debuff, and that would be terrible. The flip side is I could attack with Mario just to get in some damage. He won't counter during this phase at all unless somebody is invincible. And then I can give Peach invincibility and not attack with Bowser. So it's kind of a gamble. I'm kind of greedy, so I like to attack a lot. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to go with invincibility and patience. Just in case he's not buff, I'm gonna buff it anyways. And of course, attack Bowser. Yeah, that's RNG for you. But it's okay. In order to get everybody healthy again, I had to use an item. Okay, thank you, RNG. Same thing. Alright, so in 4 turns, he's gonna do that crap again. So... debuff. That's good. Shouldn't be a counter. It's not. Alright. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. Jesus, he really tries. He tries to kill everybody. He don't give a fuck. Alright, so this is a perfect opportunity for a Hyper M guard. See if I can block. Nothing I can do about that. It was a perfect opportunity, I just failed myself. And so you notice he did that. That actually healed him an entire life. Every time he does that, he heals 1 life. Jesus. So me getting in those 2 attacks right there actually nullified the life gain that he got. Check our live stream shakes, you don't want to run out. 18, 25 left. Seems like a lot, but you burn through it so quick. God. That whenever somebody's invincible, it really messes with his timing. And his timing goes fast or real slow and weird pauses. Makes it really difficult. So... if I attack, he counters. Damn it! I wanted him to hit Peach. Obviously. Not Bowser. Okay, that's fine. We'll use a Hyper M guard. Another good opportunity. So there's a 30, I'm sorry, yeah, 30, 60, 90, 33. There's a 66% chance that he'll counter with an attack or with the cross attack or melee attack. Oh man, I gotta pay attention. And there's a basically 33% chance that he'll do nothing. And then divide that. Okay, so basically there's a very, very low chance. 1 out of every 8 that he'll hit the person you don't want them to hit. So last turn, there was a 33% chance that he would do nothing. There was 66% chance that he'll counter, and then again, in the third of that, a 20% chance that he would have hit Peach overall. So just bad odds. I'm leaving Mario with low HP. We're going to risk it because I knew that wasn't a counter. that would have been a counter. Jesus Christ. This would be a counter. Fuck it. Hit Peach. Damn it. Ah, block, bro. What the hell's wrong with me? Alright, we're gonna use a Hyper M guard. Finally, good luck. We're just gonna risk her right now just so we can get damage out there. Because you can be RNG'd at any moment. Fuck. That's for Peach. Odds. Fuck. Alright. I know this is a tutorial, but it's still a frustrating fight. Oh my god. Alright, we're just gonna heal. Hopefully this is a counter. It's not a counter. Alright, we're gonna Caracola, get our MP back. I just couldn't block. This is just, it's gonna happen sometimes. This is a good Hyper M guard chance. Got 7 left. gods love us today. Don't counter. Okay, I'll take that all day, every day. And that's all she wrote, guys. And I've already gotten an Oathkeeper, but after you beat him, it checks your inventory to see if you have Oathkeeper, and if not, it grants you an Oathkeeper. I actually sold my previous Oathkeeper to make room. So you can see our remaining items. I only used 2 Caracolas. I used 2 Ultra Shroom Shakes. I had 4 of these extra and a bunch of Life Shrooms. So this is an idea. If you block well, you're going to have a lot of extra stuff. So anyways, guys, this wraps up my tutorial. I hope it helps. And thank you for watching, and please subscribe.